The PlayStation 3 was a legendary console. It had some downright amazing JRPGs. Here are 10 PlayStation 3 JRPGs that I bought and still haven't played over 10 years later. I have so many memories with the PlayStation 3. JRPGs like Ni no Kuni, Tales of Xillia, Persona 5, these are all games that I'll treasure as they are some of the most memorable experiences I have with JRPGs. However, we all buy JRPGs and have them sit on our backlog for 1, 2, 5, or even 10 plus years. Unfortunately, I'm as much of a victim as this as anyone else. In today's video, we are going over 10 PlayStation 3 games that I bought and was excited for, but I just didn't have the time to get around to. Are they amazing? Or are they so bad that it's a blessing that I haven't touched them yet? Stick around and find out. Let's jump right on into 10 PlayStation 3 JRPGs that continue to rot in my backlog. Let's start this off with Valkyria Chronicles. I love strategy JRPGs, but the tried and true square-based grid can get a bit overdone and make every strategy game feel the same in a sense. So when I saw that Valkyria Chronicles was not only not a square-based grid, but it was more of a free roam system, had a beautiful art style and just beautiful music, this is going to be great, and I got excited. So naturally, I booted it up and started playing it, and I got a game over within the first few chapters. Valkyria Chronicles was incredibly hard and completely discouraged me from continuing the game, and I never went back to it. Since then, I've bought it several times on different gaming platformers, and still to this day, I have yet to play it. I guess yay for games being on your backlog numerous times? One of the things that really makes me want to play Valkyria Chronicles is the fact that it has Vice and Aika from Skies of Arcadia, which, by the way, is totally a game I would not be opposed to getting a modern day re-release. As for Valkyria Chronicles, when I do play it finally, I most likely will end up playing the PS4 or PC remaster, probably just for ease of accessibility and just better performance as a whole. I know regardless of where I decide to play it, I'm in for a good time because this is one of those games that I constantly hear nothing but praise for, so naturally, I can't wait. Let's talk about Lightning Returns Final Fantasy XIII. Yeah, I already know what you're thinking. Final Fantasy XIII is terrible and this is already a waste of time. I'm skipping to the next entry. While you're free to do that, I will have you know that I am one of the 5 JRPG fans in the world that actually adores Final Fantasy XIII and ranks it in my top 3 Final Fantasy games of all time. Go on, roast me in the comments. I know you want to. Anyways, while I love Final Fantasy XIII, in fact, it was my very first Platinum trophy, and Final Fantasy XIII 2, while different, was also quite good, though I am kind of annoyed at that because my save file got corrupted right before I was about to Platinum the game. But anyways, as for Lightning Returns Final Fantasy XIII, honestly, I was looking forward to it. It had a job system of sorts, an action RPG system, Lightning is a badass heroine, the new characters seem interesting. What could possibly turn me off of this game? Well, it's that time limit. Lightning Returns uses a timing-based system, and once you run out of time, you have to start the game over from scratch. Granted, you get it a New Game Plus style with abilities and levels. Think Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter, kind of a Groundhog Day situation. I don't like time limits. The last thing I want is for my hobby to cause me anxiety, and that's exactly what time limits do. I really want to give this game another shot because some of the new characters really intrigue me and I want to know how this trilogy ends. Maybe next time I get the opportunity, I will struggle my way through Lightning Returns. It can't be entirely bad, right? Despite the reputation that the Final Fantasy XIII trilogy has. Drakengard 3. I've heard incredibly mixed things about this game, and truthfully, I picked it up on a whim. At the time, I had absolutely no idea what Drakengard or Nier was. I just picked it up because it looked like a JRPG, and it had pretty box art. To this day, I have yet to play a Drakengard game, mostly because they age like dirt, but I love the Nier remake, and enjoyed what I played so far of Nier Automata. Seriously, I don't know why I keep dropping that game. It's not bad. In fact, Nier Automata is pretty great. I just get distracted from it. But that's a topic for another video. As for Drakengard, I remember trying it and being completely turned off because that frame rate was atrocious. Normally, frame rates don't bother me, but this game takes it to a whole new level, and it was so choppy with dropped frames everywhere, it made it borderline unplayable. And as someone who has no familiarity with the franchise, that setting just wasn't drawing me in at all. after getting a bit of near experience, I feel I should give the Dragon Guard series another shot. Of course, me being me, I'd feel the need to play the first 2 Dragon Guard games before I even touch this, but that's the thing about backlogs. They're always there, they're waiting to be played, and maybe by the time I actually get to the 3rd title, it'll get a remaster or something that can improve the performance. Doubtful, but I can continue to dream at least. So, next we'll talk about Rune Factory Tides of Destiny. I will be 100% honest. When I was looking through my PlayStation 3 collection, I saw this game and I didn't know I owned it. Seriously, I don't remember ever buying it. But it's there. It's a JRPG, or JRPG adjacent game, I guess, and it's sitting in my backlog, so here it is on the list. The Rune Factory games are such a unique breed of gaming. They take the fun and exhilarating gameplay of an action RPG, all the exploring and fast-paced combat, but mix it with a cozy style of farming simulation and relationship building of Harvest Moon. I really love the Rune Factory series. I've spent an unhealthy amount of time playing the Rune Factory series, namely Rune Factory 4 on the 3DS, then even more time on the Switch, and then even more time on PC. It's just a series that you can easily get sucked into for hours upon hours, as they are jam-packed with insane amounts of content. While I haven't played this particular Rune Factory, as far as I understand, this entry in the franchise was a bit divisive. Supposedly, it focuses more on the combat aspect as opposed to the farming and in-game relationship building. I understand why it would divide the fanbase, but as long as each particular aspect has enjoyable content, I feel like I'd have just as much fun with it as I have had with previous games in the series. Rune Factory is a time sink done right, and I think it's about time for me to dive into another game in the series. Now, I did not say every game here was going to be great, did I? Let's talk about Time and Eternity. I've talked about this game before. In fact, it's on my biggest gaming regrets video. Time and Eternity is another one of those games that I got on a whim, only to drop it less than an hour or 2 into it. The story turned me off, the animation feels super unnatural, and the gameplay is incredibly repetitive and not fun in the least. With that being said, I feel I don't have a right to say a game is terrible unless I finish it. So naturally, I feel like I have to play through this game at one point or another. I remember at least enjoying the music of Time and Eternity, so at least that's something to look forward to. Time and Eternity, though, is a prime reason not to buy a game based on aesthetics alone. Just because a game looks beautiful does not mean the quality of the game will follow. With that being said, sometimes playing an awful game is exactly the kind of vibe you might be looking for. I've been known to find a certain thrill by playing awful games. After all, I played, and reviewed for that matter, both Lunar Dragonsong and Dawn of Mana. Those are some of the most awful games I've played, and I had a blast roasting them left and right. Terrible games are a certain type of masochistic joy that just can't be matched by playing high quality video games. Speaking of which, have you played any terrible games that you actually enjoyed? Be sure to let me know the worst game you've played that you've actually had a good time with. Alright, I have absolutely no idea what these games are about. A duology of the Guided Fate Paradox and the Awakened Fate Ultimatum. Supposedly, these are 2 roguelike mystery dungeon style JRPGs and were published by NIS America. It's kind of amazing, to be honest. I have never seen anyone mention these games anywhere. They're never on any JRPG lists anywhere at all. I've never seen any trailers or gameplay footage in my internet travel, and I had to actually look up gameplay footage to even confirm this was a JRPG or not. I also have no idea if they're amazing or downright terrible. Upon looking at gameplay footage and few reviews of the series, this kinda looks kinda cool. It looks very familiar to the Disgaea series, but done in a mystery dungeon roguelike style, and the characters seem like they're kind of interesting. This is actually something that I miss from gaming these days. With how predominant social media and the internet is in general, it's incredibly rare to go into a game without having any idea about it. Which, yes, I am aware I kind of ruined this by looking up footage and talking about the game today, but it's something I'm looking forward to. Anyways, as I was saying, going into a game incredibly blind can kind of be a refreshing experience. Is it good? Is it bad? What should I expect? I don't know, but it is something that I'm looking forward to. Remember back in the late 90s and early 2000s, when you bought a game without any prior knowledge of it, outside of maybe your friends mentioning it, or the very odd chance of seeing it in a gaming magazine? Part of me wishes we could go back to those days. So who remembers the Artelico series? If you're familiar around my channel, I've talked about them a couple times before. They were a duology of games on the PlayStation 2. Typical Gus games with item creation, cute characters, and a lighthearted story, despite them being basically one huge sexual innuendo. I really enjoyed them, so once I heard that there was a third game on the PlayStation 3, I knew I had to pick it up. So I got it as soon as I found out it existed, only to never play it. This is an ongoing theme for me. I really should stop buying games solely to immediately throw them into the gaming backlog. Oh well, I've done it for the last 20 years, I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. I actually haven't even booted up this game at all. I bought it and it went immediately into my backlog, so I had to jump onto YouTube and look at some gameplay footage. The first thing I noticed is it's no longer sprite-based and uses 3D models. First thoughts of that is, ew. And it's an action RPG? Oh dear. And in order to strengthen your Raventails, you need to strip them? Well, that's in true Artelico fashion, I suppose. With all that being said, if it still has the humor and the innuendos that were in the first two games, I'm sure it's something I will enjoy playing. Still though, I don't understand why games like to do this full 180 when your previous games did so well. I actually don't know how well the Artelico games did beforehand, but I enjoyed them, so a change in the style kind of disappoints me. I adored the Artelico series, so I feel like I should give this game the good old college try. Even if it is vastly different and lacks any of the aspects that made me fall in love with the series in the first place. From Software, it's kind of strange, isn't it? You'll have its well-known games like Armored Core, which are dang amazing, or goofy like 3D Dot Game Heroes. And we all know the Dark Souls series, which they're famous for, but did you know they also did a traditional style JRPG called Enchanted Arms? This was one of the first games I got with my PlayStation 3, along with Uncharted Drake's Fortune, which we won't talk about at all because this is a JRPG channel. No time for third-person shooters here. With Enchanted Arms being the first PlayStation 3 JRPG I played, I was expecting something absolutely amazing, and I was greeted by Makoto. Oh, Makoto. This voice acting is fabulous, to say the least. Honestly, despite being the comic relief, Makoto was kind of interesting, and I kind of thought the game was fun. It was a fun battle system, crossing a strategy RPG and turn-based RPG, kind of like the Mega Man Battle Network, but turn-based. But with the gameplay, I just wasn't blown away by what I played. It felt kind of soulless, and it's just not very fun. I had a PlayStation 2 chock full of JRPGs, and the boosted graphics on Sony's new console just didn't have anything worthwhile playing. As a result, Enchanted Arms got thrown back on the shelf to sit on my backlog for nearly 20 years. I definitely do not miss the muddy graphics trend that the PlayStation 3 era had, and Enchanted Arms being dull and boring, and don't even get me started on how beautifully terrible the English dub is. I love bad English dubs, and usually it enhances my enjoyment of the game, but there's a limit, and this isn't hilariously bad. It's just bad. That being said, I still want to give it another shot sometime soon. Maybe just for a fun playthrough so I can make fun of it. What do you think? Is it a good idea to play Enchanted Arms and just roast it? Be sure to let me know. Oh, Shining Resonance. On the PlayStation 3, it didn't get released here. I imported this game and goodness me oh my, I won't even lie. I did buy this because of the character designs. The characters are very, how can I put this? Voluptuous? Yeah, the women in Shining Resonance are very blessed. From my understanding, the character designer has been known to do 18+ manga in Japan, which more than explains the very exciting character designs. Alright, enough of those character designs. Yes, they have booty, yes, they have big chests, but let's move on to other things about the game that caught my attention. Believe it or not, they actually exist. So upon looking at the gameplay footage, it had an action JRPG system, which kind of makes me think of the Tales series or Star Ocean. I love both of these series, so naturally I was interested. And you can transform into dragons? Sexy breath of fire, is that you? Anyways, at the time, the story was of no consequence to me because I don't understand Japanese. Luckily, later on, there was a remaster release under the title of Shining Resonance Refrain. I know there is a few differences between each version, added characters, DLC included, so on and so forth. I don't expect much from this game. I've heard it has terrible frame rate issues, story is mediocre, and for the most part, the game is just skippable. However, with that being said, I still want to play the game. I love the art style of this game, the fact that there are tons of costumes, and I do enjoy its very text heavy, almost pushing it towards visual novel style. Even if the game is awful, it looks like something I personally enjoy. But if I do play it, I will 100% play it on the PlayStation 4. But you know what? I might actually enjoy it because I'm kind of weird when it comes to my gaming opinions. More often than not, they're considered hot takes, so we'll see when I get to it. And lastly, there's a reason this game is sitting on my backlog. It's difficult, it's bland, it's boring, and it's Idea Factory. Okay, I'm joking about the last part, but you gotta admit, Idea Factory is low to mid more often than not. But Cross Edge got my attention by its concept. A huge crossover JRPG, with a combat system similar to Namco X Capcom or Project X Zone. Characters from Darkstalkers, Artelico, Disgaea, and more all teaming up in a combo-heavy combat system? How could this go wrong? It sounds like an amazing combination that couldn't possibly go wrong. Unfortunately, I was incredibly wrong. The combat is clunky. It never works the way you want, and it's insanely difficult. On top of all that, in order to actually make it to the ending, you have to play it on hard mode. Remember back in the 90s when you would play home console ports of those arcade beat-em-ups like Turtles in Time or Final Fight? And if you played on easy mode, the game would prematurely end and tell you to play on harder difficulties to play the rest of the game. Cross Edge does the same thing. The difference is this is a 50 to 100 hour JRPG and not a 3-hour beat-em-up game. Part of me wonders if this game actually gets better the further that you go on. I wouldn't know because I couldn't even finish the first dungeon as I died again and again and again and again. I'm willing to bet the game is purposely designed this way to kind of push you towards the DLC items to make the game easier, but I'll be 100% honest, this game has been in my backlog ever since it came out, and it's probably going to be a game that remains in my backlog for years to come. But who knows? Maybe one day I'll feel the need to torture myself and I'll play it. So there you have it. The PlayStation 3 has some downright amazing JRPGs and some not amazing JRPGs, but regardless, they don't deserve to remain in my backlog. Do you have any PlayStation 3 JRPGs remaining in your backlog that you haven't sat down and played yet? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ding that notification bell so you don't miss any of my other JRPG lists, JRPG reviews, and all other kinds of JRPG content weekly. And before you head off for the day, since you're still here, why not check out one more video? This has been Shinky, thanks so much for watching, and until next week's video, have a wonderful day.